Hey there, it's Rachel Mullins, the host of Hashtag No Filter Fridays on Public House Media.
This is Ezekiel Drews, host of Podcast, A Star Wars Story, here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you are done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Podcast, A Star Wars Story, where we talk about anything and everything Star Wars. A new show comes out bi-monthly. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Podcast, A Star Wars Story. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Today's verse of the day comes from Matthew 5:14. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Good morning and welcome to the Verse of the Day podcast. Welcome in. I'm so excited to have you along for another episode of the Verse of the Day podcast presented by Public House Media. I want to thank Mandy for sending along that verse today. A reminder for you that if you have a verse that is special to you or you would like us to potentially feature on the show, you can do that one of two ways. You can go to our Facebook page, give it a like if you haven't already, and submit one via just sending us a message or writing on the wall that we have as well too. Just go to Verse of the Day Podcast on Facebook, or you can also go over to our email if you're more of an email type person and go to verseofthedaypod, P-O-D, at gmail.com. We are very excited about the great emails that we've already received, the great messages as well too. And we're going to continue to keep featuring people that keep sending in verses. I want to talk to you today about this Bible verse, Matthew 5:14. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. How many of you sang this song when you were in Bible school or Sunday school or vacation Bible school? Stop me if you've heard it already. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so. We as Christians, as you hear in this verse, are the light for God on this earth. Christ is the ultimate light. He was the one that lit a fire in the darkness. He beat death, he beat sin, he beat Satan, and he started this eternal flame that will never go out. And now that he is no longer on this earth, we as Christians are now possessed by the Holy Spirit to now take that light that Christ gave to each and every one of us to then go out into the world and represent Christ in the best light that we can. We need to honor him and shine for him as well too. Christ, we shine because the Holy Spirit lives inside of us. Those remember the amazing scene that was at Pentecost as well too, and the flame was appeared above the disciples in the upper room that were hidden away. And then after that, they went out and spread the world, they spread around the world the word of Christ to all nations in different languages and tongues that none of them even knew about until they were completely overcome by the Holy Spirit in such a positive and amazing manner. I do find it interesting too. I want to look at verse 15 because this is kind of where we get that don't let Satan it out, or don't let Satan blow it out. I'm going to let it shine. Because at verse 15 we see here in Matthew 5:14, Matthew 5:15, it says, neither do people light a lamp and put it under a basket. Instead they set it on a lampstand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. We are going to be tempted every single day. We are tempted every single day. I'm tempted, you're tempted, your neighbor down the street 3 doors over is tempted. We're all tempted. Even Grandma sitting at home reading her book, knitting, she's tempted as well too. Satan is going to try and blow out our light. He's going to do that with temptation, with fear, and all kinds of sinful acts. And if you sit down for just a moment and think about different ways that you are tempted throughout the day, whether it be going to websites you know you're not supposed to go to, whether it be maybe texting a person that you are not in a relationship with to do things with, maybe it's taking a sip of your parents' alcohol, even though you are definitely underage because you still live with your parents. or you might not. But you get what I'm saying. What sinful acts is Satan putting in your way to try to snuff out that light of Christ that lives inside of you? It's interesting when you look at this idea of building a city on a hill. Why build a city on a hill? Well, you get good drainage if it rains, and the water will just run down off the hill, and you not have to worry about that. You're well protected from enemies. They have to come up a hill so you can see them coming. You can look out and see the great vast expanse of the area around you. But let's be honest here, and this could be a little bit of a greedy thing depending on how you look at it. You build a city on a hill, of course, for protection, but you build it there because you want people to see you. Nobody builds a city on a hill that's quiet, that's trying to stay away from people. If that were the case, they would build it down in the mountains. They would build it in a valley somewhere that was heavily covered with trees. You build a city on a hill because you want to be seen. Therefore, we also need to be humble, but we also have this light of Christ inside of us. You need to let that out so that way it can be seen for miles around. Are you doing that in your daily work, in your classes at school, in your coworkers, in your life with your sisters and brothers, with your family? One of the things that I think is really interesting about this light, we know Christ is the light of the world. We as his followers, as his now apostles and disciples that have gone out into the world to spread his love, is this figure of light, bringing light to the darkness. You walk into a dark room, modern technology, you flip on a light switch, bang, you can see what's going on. Have you done that? Has somebody done that to you? Have you had darkness in your life and then had someone come to you full of the Holy Spirit and then bang, you are just lit up in a good way with the Holy Spirit, with this fire? Recently I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and she was telling me about the type of man that she would like to marry one day. And she kept using very light terms. She says she wants to have a marriage with a man that has a burning love for God. She wants a man that is on fire for the Lord. Can you think of those people in your life? I know I certainly can, that are on fire for the Lord, that are burning, that have this burning passion, this burning desire. And you hear that's described in other things. Oh, he's got a burning passion for his work, or oh man, he's really on fire for for his kids and trying to be there for him. Obviously, there's the literal expressions as well too, but you understand what we're going with this. When I think of people in my life that are on fire for the Lord, I think of my mom. I think of my friend Stephanie. I think of my wife. I think of my grandma. My grandma's 90 years old. She's probably the most dedicated Christian that I have ever met in my life. She doesn't do much. She sits at home most days, but she prays pretty much all day. She gives back to the community as best she can. She's not very mobile anymore, unfortunately. But she is always talking about God, always talking about different experiences, going to church, trying to help those as best she can. She gives to so many different charities as well too, because she can't physically get around very much anymore. So she tries to use the blessings that she has financially to give back to those around the world as best she can. As you go about your week, as you get ready for another week, think about how you shine in other people's lives. Or think about the person that shines in your life. Many times we have to think of the person that helped lead us to Christ. Do you have that person or persons in your mind that right now that you're thinking of, that maybe today you should send them a message and just say thank you. Say thank you for being a positive light in my life. I know I'm going to. It's amazing the impact we can have on people in our life. It's amazing how being a light for somebody can take the darkness away so quickly. And it's amazing that the light always outsmarts, always prevails over the darkness. You've been listening to the Verse of the Day podcast, hosted by Baxter Colburn on Public House Media. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Verse of the Day. It comes out 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The podcast can be found by subscribing on Google Play Podcasts and wherever good podcasts are found. More information about Verse of the Day podcast can be found by going to thephmedia.com.